The Garden of Friendship Series. Episode 3, Faith Amidst the Silence. Author, Gisele Wassa. Savannah visited her dear friend, once more. As she arrived at his quaint home, she was greeted warmly by Eli, who was genuinely happy to see her.
Hello, Savannah. It's so good to see you again. How have you been?
I'm doing well, Eli. It's always a pleasure to visit you.
I'm glad you came back. I was just about to visit Margaret at the cemetery. Would you like to join me?
Sure.
Savannah agreed, and they set off together. It was just a short walk from Eli's house to the cemetery. As they walked, they exchanged light conversation, but soon, the peaceful stillness of the grounds surrounded them. The cemetery was serene, with well-kept paths and lush green grass. The gentle rustling of leaves in the breeze added to the tranquil atmosphere. When they reached Margaret's grave, Savannah was taken aback by its beauty. The gravestone was elegant, carved with intricate details, and adorned with fresh flowers. It was clear that Eli took great care in honoring his beloved wife's memory. He would come here often, tending to the gravestone and decorating it with flowers. The love and dedication he showed in maintaining Margaret's resting place was touching. They stood there in silence for a few moments. Savannah watched Eli, seeing the sadness and devastation in his eyes, yet there was also a serene smile on his face as he prayed to God. Despite his grief, Eli's faith remained strong, and Savannah was deeply impressed by his unwavering devotion. After a while, they made their way back to Eli's house. The walk was quiet, but a sense of peace accompanied them. Once back home, Eli prepared tea, and they settled down, enjoying the comforting warmth of each other's company.
Thank you for coming with me, Savannah. It means a lot.
Thank you for sharing that moment with me, Eli. Your faith is truly inspiring.
Is it?
Yes. Even after losing Margaret, your strength and faith remain unwavering. I admire that so much. I don't know if I could handle it, to be honest. But you do not seem to be struggling in your faith. I am struggling in my faith and did not go through what you went through.
Well, it wasn't easy. When Margaret was sick, I prayed every day for her recovery. I prayed for a miracle. But God had his own plan.
How do you manage to not be bitter towards God after all that? I am sure that you prayed and pleaded with God a lot.
Yes, I did. There were times when I struggled with anger and sadness. But I realized that being bitter wouldn't bring her back or honor her memory. Instead, I chose to thank God for the time I had with Margaret. Those years were a blessing, and I am grateful for every moment we shared. It's not always easy, but it brings me peace. I say thank you to God every day. I say, thank you, God, for giving me your daughter for those wonderful years. Thank you. And thank you for taking her back home as well. She is in a better place now.
I see. But why he did not answer your prayers?
Well, he did.
He did? How come?
Yes, he did. The no of God is an answer. It is not the answer we like or want, but it still is an answer.
But here the no of God causes so much pain. I don't know. I don't understand why God let those kinds of things happen. Not only for you. In the world. Why does God allow so much pain? If he is really the compassionate God he says he is, why then? Why? It is like God closed his eyes to all those victims of war and desolation.
That's a question many people wrestle with, Savannah. Pain and suffering are parts of our world, and they often seem unfair. But I believe that God doesn't cause our suffering. Rather, he allows it because we live in a fallen world. It's a consequence of human free will and the brokenness of creation. I will give you an example. Let's say that I have 3 children. I know that they have needs, so I provide everything for them. I told them that I left all the food in the pantry in case they are hungry, and since they are big enough, I give them the responsibility of taking the food by themselves. Lastly, I insist on the point that they are brothers and have to share. But I don't force them. I just told them what to do. Then, one of them becomes greedy and wants everything for himself, so he kills one of his brothers and wounds the other one.
That seems a little surprising that he will kill his brother just because of the food in the pantry.
Well, that is exactly what is happening. God is probably surprised himself, too. He gave us a marvelous planet, the only planet where we can actually survive, the planet Earth, with enough resources on it for each country of each continent to survive. enough resources to support the whole world population. But what do we do instead? We fight because some want more and do not want to share with others. That is a very simplified version of it, but it is accurate. We are suffering because of our own greediness, and then we blame God for leaving things up to us. We blame God for our own mistakes.
I guess you are right, but in the case of Margaret, for example, don't you think that God could have saved her?
He could have. No questions about it. But he did not. A few years after Margaret passed, after a long dark moment of grieving, I start opening myself to the world again and going on social media and all that. Well, I am not good at it, but it is a good way to keep up with what's going on in people's mind. Anyway, I watched a documentary of a laboratory in France that found a vitamin that was able to clearly reduce the size of the tumor in rats. The results were very promising, but they never put it on the market. Do you know why? Because chemotherapy is more profitable. They find a better solution, maybe a cure to cancer, but the big pharmaceutics will not go there because they will lose money. God gave us the intelligence to conduct research in medicine. That vitamin was discovered before we learned that Margaret was sick. Can you imagine if they actually used it and perfected it? Maybe my Margaret would still be alive, but it was up to people. And they made their choice. Do you understand?
Savannah nodded slowly, still processing Eli's words. He reached out and patted her hand gently.
It is hard, and it's okay to struggle with it. God understands our pain and our questions. Let me tell you another story. It is when Margaret got pregnant. We were so happy and excited. But at the same time, we were terrified. Especially Margaret, who was very afraid of the pain during labor. She asked me, "What if I can't handle the pain? What then? What will happen to the baby?" I told her that she was the strongest woman I knew and that she would be able to handle anything. But she was still scared. We then signed up for maternity classes, and the educator who trained us said something that changed Margaret forever. The pain is good. Usually pain is a signal that something is wrong in the body, but not with delivery. The pain is good because it is a signal that the body is working normally for the delivery of the baby. During delivery, that is what Margaret kept saying in the contractions. The pain is good. The pain delivers, baby. The pain is good. It is my body working for giving me baby.
You have children?
Yes, I have a son, Michael. He is in college. He is brilliant. But my point is that God uses pain for our good. As terrible as it sounds, we draw near to God during difficult times, and that is how our faith grows stronger. So pain is not only necessary, but it also participates in God's plan. It often is a signal that something is wrong, but it works for our good. Think about it. If we were not able to feel pain, we would all be dead by now. It is because of the pain that we felt in our body that we were able to go to the doctor and then get treatment. That treatment prevented the condition from getting worse and killing us. Pain is useful in that sense.
I really like the way you open my eyes. Everything you say makes so much sense. There is that one kid that is part of our group, and one day she asked me, why would God create the devil and then let him go loose on us? Does that not mean that God is himself evil? I have to confess that I did not know what to answer. It is true that God created the devil, and he is the author of many of that suffering.
God did not exactly create the devil,
How come? Who did then?
God created Lucifer. The archangel was in charge of his praises, but he became the devil when he rebelled against God and wanted God's glory for himself. Even in his rebellion, God did not withdraw the devil's capacities, but he defeated him for us on the cross. So whatever the devil does, he is defeated. Look, it could seem like God is not in control, but he is. And what I will say to you may shock you, but it is for our benefit that the devil is around us. Because if he was not, we would have no reason to pray as hard as we do to resist and defeat him. So even the devil is in the plan of God.
I appreciate your perspective, Eli.
I'm glad I could share, Savannah. Remember, faith is a journey, and it's okay to have questions along the way.
They continued their conversation, the bond between them growing stronger through their shared reflections and understanding. While they sipped their tea, the warmth of the beverage provided a comforting contrast to the emotional conversation. And Savannah smiled faintly, her heart a bit lighter.